Hello, my fellow car modelers. How are you doing today? We're going to do a little mocking up, and I was kind of thinking and curious about something. Wanting to Pro Street the 86 Monte Carlo SS. This is probably one of my top 10 cars I would love to own, man. I loved these when they first came out. Never got to own a real one. Had some friends that had them. These were just neat cars. And they make killer Pro Streets. So we're going to do a little mocking up to see what would be a nice, real quick chassis we could fit in this. Try to minimize the cutting and kit bashing. Maybe we have something here, which, as you can tell from the old box art, I went into the stash and dug out some old kits that I bought when they were new, and they've been sitting there for a long time. And of course, I have a boatload of this good old buddy right here. It's been out quite a few different times, but this is very nostalgic. I have a bunch of these, and I always like to go grab a hold of the old green Mamba one right here, the Max Rat, which one day I actually would like to kind of build this car. Always wanted to. The green, that Max Rat, but that's for another video. Right now, we want to see if these two kits are going to work together and go for a really easy kit bash to have a nice, beautiful Pro Street mid-80s Monte Carlo SS, which is a car that everyone should Pro Street. Just to start out, I always do this when I'm going to check and see if a car chassis, a body from one kit and a chassis from another will fit. And we'll look at some of these parts a little later. Again, this is a mock-up. Maybe one day I'll build this. I don't know. It's been kind of on my mind for years to do this. And we'll go ahead and we'll get the Chevelle body out. And this is what I always do to start things off. When I want to take a chassis from one kit and put it into another, I always like to see how the wheelbase is. Now, I know for you guys who know Chevrolet and know real cars and all that, in the real world, the Chevelle, mid-60s Chevelle, this is a 67, is a lot longer wheelbase than the 80s G bodies, because they were downsized at this point, and these came with what was considered or called the metric chassis. But remember, we have two different scales here. We have the Monogram kit from the 80s, which is 24th, which is slightly larger than the Revell 25th scale. And I've done this in the past in other videos, that I've talked about how having the scales work for you. Taking a 24th scale body, using a 25th scale chassis from a larger car, sometimes will work out in your favor. And let's see how much in our favor it is. There we go. You can see right there. The wheel wells line up really, really close. And since we're Pro Streeting this body, we might be doing a little bit of widening of that rear wheel well. So the slight discrepancies that we have here, which it looks like you can see in the rear wheel wells, you want to make sure that the front lines up good. You want to get that looking good as best as you can here. And what you really want to do is center to center of these two right there, where that wheel will land. And if you're just a little bit on the back, you can always kind of, being that it's going to be a Pro Street on these Monte Carlo here, we can probably fudge around with the wheel wells to get those tires to line up perfect and look correctly. Now, the reason why I thought in my head of going with these two kits to do this, or basically going with the chassis from this Chevelle, is here, right here. We'll show you. Let's get these out of the way. Here is the Monte Carlo chassis. Just so happens I grabbed a kit that was one I bought in a bargain bin. It was kind of already assembled, which makes things a little easier for the mocking up. But you can see that the configurations of the frame and how the chassis lays out are very, very similar in all these GM cars through the years, from about the mid-60s on through when they still were using full frames in the 80s before everything went front-wheel drive. And here's the cross member and lower control arms and all that compared to the Chevelle, and very similar. Very, very similar. So even though this was a different chassis called the metric chassis, it's a little smaller, and they called it metric because at this point they were using all metric bolts and all that, and metric measurements. You can see they're a lot alike. So you can, in model car world, just pretend that this whole part, which is all stock from here forward, just a back half, let's say that this is a Monte Carlo, 86 Monte Carlo frame and floorboard. They're really just similar enough. If you want to get really nitpicky, well, at that point in time, you can always whack this back off right here, and this back half would probably fit real nice on there, but we're talking about ease here. We want to go with ease. Less cutting, measuring, all that stuff. So that's why we want to go with that. Now, to take the magical test. Now, also upshot is if you're any familiar with this kit, the Chevelle kit, there's a piece of the inner fender well that's a part of the frame here. I've already, well, whoever owned this before me already cut it off and assembled this chassis in a way, so that really helps out because I'm not ready to start cutting and hacking on this. So we've got and we might want to retain those inner fender wells. Trying to go for a Pro Street that has that, which the type of Pro Street I really like, is it still will trick you because you think it's a factory car, but then you realize it's got gigantic tires in the back. So you just want the rear portion to be modified. So let's see how this fits in there. And this, as far as any grinding done or the tubs or anything like that, I haven't done anything like that to this, so we don't know what needs to be cut down or anything. But so far, we are looking like, the body's stretching a little bit, so you might want to look around and see where you could do a little grinding to make it fit a little better, but it pops into this chassis really well. And here, because we have the rear end already all in here, we can get a good idea of where everything lines up. We got a little area we'd have to do a little grinding, so we can't get this to sit up in there as far as we would like it. We're sticking down a little bit right there. We'd have to do some cutting and grinding more right up and probably right there in where the firewall and the right there on the Monte Carlo body. I would probably go a little more across there, grind that down a little bit. But for right now, I think we're getting the speed of this. Look at that. So let's get some wheels and tires and kind of mock them up like in this configuration and see if that'll work. So I got a front and a rear right here to do a little test mock up here to see how these will look in here. This is one of my favorite Pro Street tires, one of the first Pro Street tires that we got in the model car world back in the day. This Firestone that first came out in the Rick Dobberton J2000, and it was eventually put into, of course, the Max Rat. This is the tire that came from that kit. Love it. It's a perfect size, and this is the tire that this chassis was designed for, so I'm going to go for that. Just slammed a Pro stock wheel in there just for the looks and not matching wheels. I know it's what I had laying around real quick. And I got a tire here, just a tire from my tire bin that it's kind of grungy, but it'd be kind of perfect size and tread pattern you'd want on a Pro Street like this. So let's just do a quick pivot and pop them on here where they would go. This is going to be looking a little high because let me just kind of get it in the pace, but this should fit nice right in there, right where it would go. That's the important thing. And we can see, get that, are we in the right pot? Make sure that's on the, so we see right there, the rear's a little bit farther back, but let's see where the front will land. Right about there. It's a little low because remember this is hanging low. We're going to get that more up, but you can see if I center it right, we're going to have that front wheel. That's important. As long as that front wheel is there, We're a little kicked back, which that's pretty cool. That's right where we would want to grind. So we're going to grind that body out right there, and that'll give some width and try to do some body work. And I always like to try to keep this natural lip, so that could take a little bit of doing. That's for another video. Lots of times I'll stretch wheel wells. I've done that in the past, where if I can find a donor body and add a piece and actually move this section, which is how they do it on the real pro streets and real drag cars and all that, and stretch that back so that if I can retain that stock lip, that would be nice. But that's completely up to the builder how you want to do it. But you always want to open this rear wheel well up a little more, because this is really a good place of where that rear tire would want to land, and you just open it up here, so it's pretty natural. So it fits. It works out real well. So we've got, maybe get it like that. So very little grinding, it looks like. Very little, and really much of anything. You know, you'd get into some other things. So we're probably going to have this wheel right about there. I'd have to do a lot of work to this to get us a good mock-up. I was kind of hoping to mock this up and set it down, let you guys get a real good feel of the car. But looking down, letting gravity work, I think we would have a really cool looking Pro Street. I like my Pro Streets a little more functional, and I like the height that this chassis gives us, or where this tire would sit, because we are right where the ride height would be, and that tire would stick right. I really like where this would ride. You can kind of get an idea of the slight rake it would have. Irvin would be very proud of me, because I would have the Arta rake happening right there. But I don't have the tool, Irv. I don't have the tool, so, and we're kind of like, gravity is going to work for our favor. But if we get this assembled, I'm going to need the tool to make sure I got the art of the rake accomplished and to everyone's liking. But that's pretty cool. So you get a good look right there how that'll fit. I think that would be a very good bash. And you know, I just wanted to play around with this, see what you guys thought. I would like to have done more of a mock-up, but maybe we'll do that some other time when I start getting a little more serious about this build. And we're going to have to do some grinding and cutting to make this thing fit in there perfect. But this is definitely the way I would go, using the Monogram 86 Chevrolet Monte Carlo SS and the Revell 67 Malibu SS Pro Street, the Chevelle, and I think that's a kit bash that would work. I really do. I can't step away. We gotta get the real look of a Monte Carlo SS. Let's get that distinctive SS nose on there. Will it stay for us? Yeah, I gotta mock this up. Let's look at that real quick. All right, there we go for a good mock-up. We get a good idea where the tires and wheels are going to land on this. Get a little better look because we've got our nose on there a little better. And even though I got the camera up high looking down, so gravity's holding this all together, it's not really landing well, but I got it from our perspective. There's our street. Basically, let's get that a little better. You can see where the tires would hit the pavement, so you kind of can see there's a slight rake to it, judging by our line that goes across right here. That would basically be our ground line. So I think we have got a really cool, let's get this a little centered. We need to make a really nice thumbnail. What do you say? There's the thumbnail. How cool is that? Just a little grinding here, stretching that wheel well out. It would be really easy to make a very nice Pro Street with these two kits bashed together. Pretty simple, minimal of modifications and grinding. I say go for it. And these kits are still so easy to find, and they've been pumped out for 3-4 decades. Since the 80s. They both came out mid to late 80s, and Revell has been knocking both these kits out over all the years and all the ownerships, and they're easy to find. There is a nice mocking up kit bash for today. Idea I had, thought I'd share it with you guys, bring you all in. I hope you learned something. I hope maybe this inspired you. Maybe if you've been wanting to do a Pro Street mid-80s Monte Carlo SS. And this will probably work on that Buick Regal Grand National. Same thing, because that Buick Regal, they share the exact same molds for the chassis and a lot of the parts. They are sister kits. I will say right now, don't count on this for the more recent issued from Revell, the 80s 442, the Oldsmobile, the Cutlass. That is 25th scale. It's probably going to be a lot shorter wheelbase compared to this chassis. It probably won't mesh, so that's a kit you want a Pro Street. You're going to probably have to do some cutting, but I bet you this back half would work really nice on that. If I was to do a Pro Street one of those, I probably would just take this back half and put it on to that kit's chassis and be done with it, which is an option here too. But whichever you prefer, these Monte Carlos make cool looking Pro Streets. Definitely. And before we go, I just want to give you a little look. You saw the commercial at the beginning of this video. Luka products, we are cranking out all kinds of items, and we got so many more that are going to be coming out, all in hand-casted resin. I have a website up. Finally got a situation working for me. We're still working on things. Everything's not on the website quite yet, but most of my popular items that have been selling for quite a while and you might have been looking for, they're on there. This website does not have a shopping cart on it yet. I'm sorry for the inconvenience, but there's plenty of buttons in places that tell you to go down and email your order to me, and then at that point we'll do our transactions over email, and I will send you the PayPal, and we'll go about that. It's been kind of working out pretty good with my existing customers, and right now that's the only way I can do it. Hopefully soon we'll be able to change it and get a shopping cart on that website, but we have a working website as far as you can go there and see what's going on. Contact me, have any questions, email me, or on Facebook, go over to the Facebook Luka products page and message me through that, and any questions you have, we'll figure it all out. And we got a lot of neat, exciting things coming for 2026 in the resin casting world. Not 3D printed, it's resin casted. I just want you all to know that. Don't get the confusion. It's two different mediums, two different types of doing things. So get on over to that website and check that stuff out. And, wouldn't be mind hearing from you. Let me know what you think. And I'm always open to ideas and stuff. If I can make it, I'm going to make it. And because a lot of my existing product was from suggestions from the modelers out there, you guys. So I want to thank you all for watching. And it's always so much fun when you get a hold of these kits that have been sitting in your stash, like these things that I pretty much bought this baby in the 80s. This is probably the first one I got back in whatever was it, 80. I bet you it was in 1988 when I bought this kit. We have them sitting there for a reason, and finally there comes a day that, hey, I can get on that finally. After my 3,960 other ideas have been realized, then I can get onto this one. But that's pretty much what I bought it for. I wanted to build a Pro Street. And if I'd have done this back in the 80s when these two kits came out, I might have not done so well. So I could probably do a lot better job these days. But again, going from this to that. Whoa. We're knocking things. We got to have the right look. There we go. Let's try that. From this to that. Hey. Why do we do this silly stuff? Taking our kits, mashing them together, kind of fantasizing on what we could do with a project, getting our ideas kind of realized. Well, because it's fun. Here's the producers.